Welcome to the ZebraZapps editor, Creating and Manipulating Visual Objects tutorial, Part 1. This tutorial will cover the arrow, zoom, move, rectangle, oval, and line tools. I have logged into ZebraZapps and opened a new blank project. A new project, where a navigation template has not been selected, starts with one empty master and one empty event. The workspace is currently in Event Flow view. Let's edit Event 1. Click the Edit button to switch to Stage View. Each event has its own stage and backstage. The stage is a central rectangular area in the editor's workspace that users of the app see when it's run on their devices. It is surrounded by the gray backstage, which is not visible to users but can be used by the author as a work area when building the app. Let's take a look at the toolbox. The first three tools are used for manipulating the objects in the workspace. The arrow tool is your selection tool. It allows you to move objects on the stage, bring in media assets from the resource library, to select objects you've placed on the stage, to set the attributes of objects, to select menu items, or connect objects through wiring. The zoom tool is used to zoom in or out of the workspace of the editor and works in both stage view and event flow view. It's useful when you need a quick way to see more detail or more of the workspace. The Move or Hand tool is used to reposition the workspace so you can see items that are out of view. The next area of the toolbox contains drawing and screen text objects. We will be using the rectangle object to demonstrate the editing features. These features will apply to most of the objects in the toolbox. To draw an object, just select its tool button, move the arrow tool to the stage, and draw your object. This object is now in the project and can be edited. Let's draw another object. By holding the Shift key down, when drawing a rectangle, we can make a perfect square. When drawing an oval, this will also allow you to make a perfect circle. To deselect an object, you can move the pointer to an empty area on the workspace and click, or hit the space key. To delete an object, just select it and hit the delete key. To change the size of an object, just select it and then use its handles to resize. Holding the Shift key down while resizing an object will constrain its proportions. To move an object, just click anywhere in the middle of the object and move it to its new position. The blue handle associated with the object is its rotation handle. If you hold the Shift key down while rotating it, it will be constrained to 45-degree movements. You will notice that when an object is created in the workspace, it also creates a message center for this object. All objects have message centers. Message centers allow objects in the stage to communicate to each other if needed. We will be discussing message center usage in the Creating Interactivity Basics tutorial. When an object is selected, the inspector shows the most used properties for that object. The inspector can be opened or closed by clicking the I button on the right workspace menu bar. The inspector is divided into property categories, such as geometry and appearance. The appearance category is currently showing fill color property, fill opacity, line color, line weight, and line opacity. These ribbon properties are broken into two areas: the property name and the value cell. Some property cells are text, such as line weight. Type a new line weight. And others, like fill color, open a color picker. Let's take a closer look at the fill color picker. The fill color picker is where color properties are set and modified. As we can see, the default is set to gradient. Clicking on this menu would allow us to change that default to either a solid color or a jelly bean fill. We'll stay with gradient. To change the gradient colors, click these chips. Doing so will open a color palette dialog. To add or delete gradient colors, click the plus or minus key. Let's add another one to the end. To flip the gradient colors, click this button and change the direction of the gradient. Click the directional arrow and spin it to your desired location. Like we can change the gradient style from a linear, which is currently selected, to radial and back by selecting these buttons. Lastly, to change the fill type, let's say we want to make it a solid color instead of a gradient, we click on the menu, select solid, and then again we can pick our color using the color picker. Let's change one last property of this rectangle using the inspector. Let's go to the shadow length property. You'll notice this is a text input field that allows you to enter 0 to 30. You might have noticed the red dot or the red slider that comes up. This allows us to actually slide through its value set. So by moving that slider, we can change the value without having to type in the value we want. Now we can type it in or we can use this, but this gives us some ability to see kind of cause and effect and how it would look on the screen. Now these same functions we just learned for the rectangle can be used for the oval tool as well as the line tool. To end this tutorial, I will show you a couple of efficiency tips. Let's say we want to change the line weight and color of all three of these objects. What I need to do is select all three, so I do this by clicking one, holding the shift key down, and then clicking the other two to select all three objects. The inspector will now show all the common properties that these objects share. So to change the line weight, I just move over to the line weight property, click on its value cell, let's type in 3, and that will change all three objects' line weight to 3, and then if I wanted to change its color, I just click its color chip, and let's change those lines to red. Another tip would be if I wanted to duplicate an object on the screen. So let's say I wanted two of the circles. If I clicked on the circle and held the Alt key down, I could do a drag and that would make a perfect copy. If I held the Alt and the Shift key down, it would constrain that object along its current plane. This concludes the tutorial on creating and editing visual content objects, Part 1.